Boys, how we all doing?
Hey, bro, what's going on?
Awesome, man. Awesome.
I've got a scenario for you. I've got a question for you. All right, so you're at a restaurant and you order your Coke Zero. They come and they bring the glass with the ice and the bottle of Coke Zero, and the glass has a straw in it. Are you using the straw or you're not?
Man, I'm not even using the glass.
Not even, nah.
Nah, fucking straight
Nah,
to the bottle.
straight
Fuck
in.
that.
So hang on. You're drinking out of the bottle,
I'm
MG.
drinking out of the bottle. I'm not even using the glass.
Scotty?
I'm tipping it in. I like my drinks real cold. I want the ice there.
Yeah, see, I'm tipping it in and I'm using the straw.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to give you. Let's say that
Fucking
it's
knew
a
it.
bottle of. You got San Pellegrino mineral water, and there's a glass of ice. How do you go about that?
I hate mineral water.
What?
Actually, can I raise a point? How many times you and I have been out together over how many years?
Mm.
I could never seen you order a water ever.
Me?
Yeah.
No, because I drink water at home all the time. Like I'm out. That's it. I'm gonna have something different.
I can't think of you not ordering Coke Zero ever. Or long blacks. That's it.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. It's my
Wow.
go-to.
Amazing.
Hey,
Hey,
boys, yeah,
can I just talk through anyone else who can say I've just got a smoothie on the screen. I have found the most delicious off-season smoothie recipe ever. It's really
Yeah.
simple and I won't take much time. A little bit of skim milk or like unsweetened almond milk, whatever. Vanilla protein powder, 3 scoops of, all weighed out, of course, French vanilla low-fat ice cream,
Mhm.
2 tablespoons of strawberry jam, 1 tablespoon of Biscoff.
Ooh,
Insane.
ooh, that's good.
Just give it a go. Cotties has to be Cotties strawberry jam.
Yeah,
Don't go for like any of the.
I like raspberry. That's a good one. Strawberry or
Yeah.
raspberry jam.
Yeah, trust
I'm
me. Just
raspberry.
give
Scotty,
it a whirl. Anyone out
Yeah,
there? Try it.
raspberry over strawberry every day of the
raspberry or
week.
strawberry.
You guys
Raspberry
follow it?
jam on toast with a.
Honestly, there's always got to be
black.
haters.
Hey, boys, how good was the weekend? The gym catch up.
Good. How good is that gym, man?
Oh,
If that was closer, if it was within 15 minutes, I was saying to all my clients this morning, I'd actually have a membership there
Sort of.
specifically for leg day and for probably pull day.
yeah.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
equipment is epic. The equipment was pretty good. Did you see me testing out that bloody glute machine that Beck put me on?
Yeah, that was gold.
Yeah. I tried that.
Yeah.
I don't rate it, man.
I think she did a little bit better than you, or did
Yeah, of course. Like, it's my first time on it.
Queen of Glutes. Yeah.
Yeah,
That was a great day. Hey, big thanks to TMG as well. Yeah, got us organised to get in. What a legend.
Yeah.
yeah.
No surprises. And
Great
just
man.
the opportunity to, do a few sets with everyone. I tried to get around and chat to everyone, man. It was absolutely awesome. The day flew. I reckon I could have stayed there 3 hours. In the end, we did stay there 3 hours for another reason,
Yeah.
but like I could have been there all day long, and the
Turnout was
equipment was
awesome.
insane.
We had about 30 people come, right?
Yeah,
I know in the photo we took was about 20,
yeah,
and some people missed out. They weren't there, or they were behind the scenes. We didn't grab them for whatever reason.
yeah.
But I think the gym was pretty happy with us that we got a lot of casual entries come in.
Yeah, but they were organised. They knew. They like come to the door. Are you here for the meetup, or are you here for Tanilla, who came down? They're like, are you training, or do you just want to come for the meetup? And they didn't charge him to come in.
Oh, awesome!
Yeah, but in the
That's
end,
cool.
he went and paid because he's like, I can't sit around while you guys do sets. So he went and paid $10
To train.
and did a few sets.
How could you not, man? All fill that
Yeah, I
equipment.
know.
But so many people have messaged saying, "When's the next one? We've got to have the next one." And I think next year we're definitely going to do it more frequently. Pick different gyms,
Yeah,
and just catch up more often. It was absolutely
Yeah, it
awesome.
was
yeah. Thanks to everyone who came.
All right, so boys, we're going to address the big elephant in the room. That kind of went down last week. I was away for my birthday, had my phone off, I was off the grid. When I came back, the whole industry had fallen apart. I was just like, you guys can't live without me. What the hell is going on?
Right,
And
you are the rock.
I got back on Friday, opened my phone up, and I was like, what is this? What is all this drama going on that just doesn't even need to be here? So, you know me, I don't like talking about negative stuff, and I want the industry to be in a positive light, and for us to try to promote that as much as possible. But we do need to talk about this because I've had a lot of questions about it and just people asking. I think we just need to address it. Plus, I know I spoke to Tony, to the ICM president, a couple of times on the phone, and just wanted to make sure that we had the story straight know exactly what was going on, because there's always multiple sides to a story, and we just wanted to make sure that we knew all the details. So I'm going to talk about what Tony said and his sequence of events in the timeline, not my opinion, not assumptions that were made or anything like that. I just want to talk about basically what happened in the timeline from his perspective, and then we'll talk about judging bias and if that's even a thing. So there was a meeting that ICN had over a week ago, a week before these allegations came out on social media about a specific judge having bias. And there was a meeting that happened a week prior, where they decided on the list of judges that were going to be on the panel for next year, for 2023. And they were going to release that list and make a post about it and talk about who the judges were. They're going to do that next year, because it's something that doesn't really need to be known about this year, because we're at the end of the year, we've got no more shows left. But some allegations were made online, and they decided to make the call to publish that list earlier. Just to kind of say, well, I know you're talking about this, so we've already addressed it, and this is what we've decided to do for next year, anyways. And we spoke to the judge that wasn't on that list, that has previously been on that list, and next year they're concentrating on their posing business. So that was a sequence of events that were told to us by the ICM president, and so that's that. And then obviously there was talks about allegations of judging bias. So let's chat about that a little bit, because it's actually pretty funny, to be honest, because when we think about it, firstly, we're talking about whether one single judge has bias or favoritism, right? So you're actually talking about that person's personality type and their integrity, right? So we all know this person personally, and we know what type of person they are, and we would no way think that they are the person that would act like that, right? It's almost like me saying to MG, you're a cheater. You cheated on your wife, but I've got no evidence of it, for or against, but I know your personality and your character, and I know you would never do that. But in a court of law, I've got no evidence to prove for or against, right? So this is the same thing, right? There's no evidence to prove for or against, or not that I've actually seen. The only evidence that was given is people posting up photos and talking about how they should have won over someone else, right? That's not evidence, that's an opinion, right? So we haven't got any evidence that someone actually had favoritism over someone else. So that's one thing. Now, even if a judge did have favoritism and bias, and they said, hey, I'll just let you know, I'm gonna make sure that you win, right? I'm gonna vote for you on the day. They have to sway the whole judging panel. It's a majority rule, and that person's not the head judge. And we know that head judge, and he's a bull. He's not going to be swayed. Right?
He doesn't roll at all.
He's not going to cut for that shit whatsoever. And if he sees that happening, that person will be outed, right? So even if someone didn't have integrity and were of the personality type that they would have favoritism and bias, it would be very, very difficult to sway a whole judging panel to vote in one direction, right? So I think people really need to understand how judging works, and that it is subjective, is an opinion, and your family, your friends, your coach, yourself, you may have a difference of opinion on how you think you should have went. And also then if you're trying to show photos of you compared to other people, you can make them look favorable to you over the people that placed above you. You know, we've spoken about this in the podcast before, that you should always go to a show to make that judgment call and not judge off photos, because again, photos can look favorable to you depending on where you're on the stage, depending on where you are in your pose, depending on where the other person's in their pose, whether they're breathing in, they're breathing out. It can be a lot of things. You've got to see how someone presents themselves, how they pose, and see it exactly how the judges see it to be able to have an appropriate opinion, right? You can't just go based on photos that we see online. Now, look, I didn't really see any. I think I only saw one example that was published. All the others were just hearsay of them being mistreated or there being bias and favoritism, but no evidence or photos or anything given. And again, we're not talking about evidence of you showing me a photo of you on stage. That's not bias, that's opinion. Show me evidence of bias, of favoritism, that this person promised you that they will have bias and favoritism towards you, and then they were able to sway the whole judging panel in that direction. Now, I don't know about you, but when I situate myself when I'm watching my clients on stage, I'm right near the judges. I overhear them, and I would know if there was favoritism or bias, and if it didn't go the way I thought it should go, and maybe my client missed out when maybe they shouldn't have, I'd be kicking a stink. I would be kicking a stink, but I haven't seen that. And also, whenever I've wanted to know why a decision was made in a certain way, I've asked multiple judges, and I've asked what was discussed on the table, and they've all corroborated what they've said. So I would smell a rat if all the stories didn't link up, and I thought there was something untoward going on there. So I know, boys, I'd like to know what you think about that. I know we all have our opinion, but also too is I know you guys also, you want to discuss actually one of the examples that were given. And I know we were all there that day that example was given. So we can chat about that. Now, there was, we're talking about these examples of bias and favoritism, but we all have so many examples, more examples of there being no bias and no favoritism. And we have clients that win. We have a lot of clients that don't win, right? And I think one of the biggest examples that we can give is myself and MG. We both competed. We both competed in that federation and posed with that posing coach and judge, and I didn't win. I hardly placed at the top, right? So if there was any favoritism and bias, and if they wanted to really get someone on their side and keep someone happy, that would probably be me and MG, because we send them a lot of clients. We put a lot of people in their shows. So if they wanted to keep someone happy and they wanted to show some favoritism and bias, they'd probably show it towards us. And they didn't, because they have integrity and there isn't bias in their judging. Not only for that federation, MG, I competed in your federation. You're my best mate. And I competed in your federation that you promote for. I came last. I didn't even place. I got placed third and fourth. So there's a massive example there of there being no favoritism and bias, and that judges do judge with integrity. And if there is a judge on the panel that doesn't have integrity, it's very, very difficult to sway the whole judging panel to head in one direction and to change the placing significantly.
Yeah.
Mm.
What do you think, boys?
Yeah, let's address the one actual example that was given, right? Because I was there that day. Scott, you were there that day too.
Mm-hmm.
I can really give good clarity on. There were three photos. I don't know the specific bodybuilder in question. I don't know him, and this is not any sort of attack on him. But even in those, if you're looking at those three photos, I can tell you this. In example number 2, right, it was a second placing to a bodybuilder, who is a fucking unbelievable bodybuilder. That guy would beat most people on any stage in any natty federation on any day. And I think the comment said, no, not upset about this one. But then the next one, if anyone can have an opinion, my own competitor, who was a friend of mine, placed 4th. He was in that photo. I had a competitor who was in that same photo who placed 4th. The guy who won that division was fucking awesome, man. I was there. I saw him backstage. I saw him pumping up. I watched him on stage 5 times that day. He was an absolutely worthy winner. And I'll also say this. Those comparison photos were about a competitor who would class himself as a classic competitor, yet the loss was in a physique division. So you can't really be disappointed if it's not even your normal division. So it's hard to utilize that as an example when there's so many other factors that went into that. And having been there on the day, and all three of us, who I would say are experienced coaches and have witnessed countless divisions, countless athletes across so many different federations, none of us three would have been confused or disappointed in those decisions. And I had a client who didn't win that day in that same fucking division. The other parts of that isn't, Scott, you can go into more detail, but I mean, look at how many examples of it not being the way like MT said. All right, if I just think about my last few winners, right, none of them have, like Elise, I'll use Elise as any perfect example. Elise won at Victoria, won at Nationals, and didn't pose a Vicky. And there's countless more, and I think Scott's probably got a couple of good ones as well, but without getting into it too much further, I don't agree with the way that it went down.
One thing that was said in that example was the competitor that won and beat me knows the judges, and the coach knows the judges too. And I was like, well, they should, right? As a coach, I want to know personally every judge. If I can connect with them and talk to every judge, I do want to, and the promoters of all the federations.
100%.
In the end, they are my customer. I'm developing a product, putting that product in front of them, and they are judging that product. They are my customer. I want to know what my customer wants and what my customer thinks. I want to know who that person is and build a relationship with them so I know exactly what product they are looking for. Any coach that's not familiar with the judges, knows the judges, communicates with the judges or the promoters is missing out. It should be what they should all be doing and what a good coach does. And the same as the competitors. If you have an opportunity to talk to judges, talk to the promoter, and understand what they want, what they're looking for, and then get feedback on how you went, all that information is invaluable and will only make you better. So to say that there was bias because they knew them is silly. You should know them. You definitely should.
And the first thing that we do as coaches, I know you guys are probably the same, and even as an athlete, is as soon as it's done, you reach out and just want to get some feedback on this person, on that division from the judge, what were you happy with, what weren't you happy with, because the look and the divisions are constantly evolving. So, for example, like what was a look that they wanted in 2018 is different now. So, I mean, we see that every year in natural bodybuilding, the conditioning is getting better and better. Once upon a time, you would step on stage with striated glutes and you were guaranteed a top 2 finish versus now, it's like a prerequisite, at least in bodybuilding, if you want to be competitive or in any of the men's divisions. Like the bar has constantly been risen. So it's important that you have to, and you should want to have that feedback and that clarity around, because essentially you're trying to, as MT said, you're trying to build and mold a product around a group of people that you want them to love yours more than everyone else's. But if you don't know what those people are looking for, then how can you really build or develop that product to custom to that person? So it's one of those things. I don't think you can say, oh, this person, you're the judges. Like if you go to Queensland and you ask all the top coaches there, they will know Jason, they would know all of the head judges there. It's the same if you go to South Australia, they would know Esther, who's one of the head judges there, and everyone else, because again, that's someone that you need to be able to have a relationship, and vice versa. So I think that's just it just feels a bit like you're just having a bit of a sook. Like let's be honest. Like I didn't win, so I want to complain about it. And at the end of the day, like we said, the judging panel that are up there, they have a lot more integrity than I think what perhaps people are giving them credit for.
Yeah. The thing is,
too, you guys don't get paid thousands of dollars to sit up there. Majority of the time, they're doing it out of the kindness of their heart.
Exactly.
They don't have a motive to be like, I want to make this person place here and this person not place there. At the end of the day, they're doing it because they want to be up there, and not because they're trying to persuade someone to influence a decision. It's not the way that it goes down.
Yeah. And I think one of the other comments was about feedback and like getting feedback. I think what a lot of people expect is like you came second, and what they want in their feedback was like, you need to have, he beat you because his quads were bigger, his things were, that's not how feedback works. they're not going to specifically tell you exactly the points that the person right above you had. They're just going to tell you what you need to improve. That's the only way feedback can work. They're not going to specify versus any other person. It's just not how feedback works. And I think people need to understand that.
Yeah, I think people need to appreciate the fact that you can actually get feedback and you can talk to judges and you can communicate with them and get some individualized feedback. I think that's awesome because not all federations and not all judges do that. So I think that's super important too. And also, if you're a competitor or even a judge that thinks you're perfect and you know it all and there's nothing wrong with you and you should have won or your competitor should have won, you're never going to improve. You're never going to be your best. I know there was a lot of times where not a lot of times, but there was some times where it was really, really close judging for a couple of my competitors that, got runner-up overall compared to winning the overall title. And a lot of people had an opinion saying, my client should have won, which is fine, right? But that doesn't help me. I want to talk to the judge and understand why they didn't, right? For me to just kick up a stink and have a sook and then never ask that question is silly. So if I walked away with an ego and walked away thinking I knew it all and say, no, it's just bias, it's just crap judging, what do I tell my competitor what they need to improve on? Got no idea. But when those things have happened, I found out the reasons why. I've taken the emotion out of it and maybe what I thought should have happened and just tried to understand the judging. Went back to my client and say, next time, we're going to make it undeniable that you're the winner. We don't want it to be a close call anymore. And that gives you motivation and drive to keep pushing. If you say to a client, oh, you got robbed, you got this, you got that, where's their motivation? Where's their motivation to even compete again? Oh, this is rubbish. The judging is biased. Why do I even put myself through this anymore? It's not motivating to do that. So coaches need to be really careful with how they act and how they communicate with their clients. And also coaches need to shut down whenever their clients talk like that. And we've been really good, like all three of us have a really good group of people in our team. And I haven't seen in my team, I haven't seen you guys, if anyone in your team actually talk like that and act like that online. And even if offline they say it to you, I know the way I act, I know the way you boys would probably act, is you'd shut that down straight away and you'd say, no, let's analyze where we think you actually got beaten. And let's fix it. Let's improve next time.
And I mean, at the end of the day, the main comparison is you at your last show, not the person next to you as well. So like, that's our number one thing that we're trying to beat. And that forms the basis of every analytical conversation post a comp. So
you can never control who's going to turn up on the day.
That's it.
No, never. You're right.
And that was like that guy that we were talking about, that freak of nature, just literally rocked up out of nowhere, out of the abyss, and just smoked everyone. Didn't do another show, easily would have got his pro card, and then just faded off, into the sunset.
He's got a crazy physique. So that's a good example. If you try to, we've spoken about this before, if you try to base your happiness off your placing, you're going to be very, very unhappy and you're going to set yourself up for failure. Because, Scotty, what if you told me, all right, Mick, we know what you got to work on. Let's work on those things, and we're going to make you look the best. And imagine I worked on all those things, and I looked my absolute best, and I put in all my effort, and then this bloody freak comes along and I got to compete against him, I lose. But I've done everything. So if I just base my happiness on the fact that I did everything you told me to do and I should win now, I'm gonna be a very, very sad individual, because someone can rock up that's just a freak or it's just better in some other way and I can't control it.
That's it.
All right, boys. Any more on that topic?
The only thing that I would just say is I think people need to perhaps just don't give this any more fuel than what it needs, because it doesn't do anyone or anything any good. Whatever has been said has been said. But I think, people's claim to fame, whatever, it doesn't last very long. I think at the end of the day, we've discussed it. We all have our personal opinions on where it stands. We also we have our opinions, and we know firsthand that the accusations made about this individual, we know this person very well, and at the end of the day, and this person knows that as well. So they can obviously hold their head high. But in terms of everything else, I think people just need to probably just let it go and move on. And if anything, just be happy that at least there's going to be a little bit more standardization on that front in terms of, who your judges are going to be. And then hopefully, I know from our perspective, we really want to see it Australia-wide in terms of the look that each state wants, so that when we take our athletes to nationals that are contending, for those pro cards, that, like what we were saying before, we know exactly what they're looking for, and we can do our best to try and navigate and help our client, achieve that goal.
Yeah. All right, boys, let's move on to a lighter topic. If you've been living under a rock, you might not know this, but this weekend is Mr. Olympia. And it's been a long time coming. Obviously, it's been pushed back. It's in December. Normally, it's around about October, September time. And there's a lot of good competitors that are going to be at this show. Like, it's going to be absolutely stacked. So let's talk about men's open real quick. And if you've got your top 5 or top 6 or top 3. And then if you want, we can touch on bikini real quick too. And then we've got some questions. So, MG, you want to rapid fire your men's top?
This is, I could do this 100 times. I reckon I've done it 20 times. But I'm going to say Rami to win.
Mm-hmm.
Hardy second, Brandon third. Andrew fourth, Ian 5, Samson 6.
Wow, I wasn't expecting that.
No Walker.
Hunter. Yeah, Nick's. I got Nick in 6th or 7th, but man, I just changed my mind again when I was reading it out.
And Derek's obviously up for the 212 as well.
Derek will be top 10 as well, man.
So, man, mine's totally different to yours. So I got Rami first.
Yeah, so we all agree on that. Or so far, you and I do. Yeah.
Got Bonac second.
Yeah, I had Bonac like 9th.
So Bonac is working with Chad Nichols, which is the person that's coaching Rami, and it's the first time that they've been working together. And some of the pictures that I've seen are crazy. And he nearly beat Curry at the Arnold. Actually, people think that he probably should have won. So I got Rami, then Bonac, then I got Brandon Curry third, then Hardy, then Derek, then Nick. How about you, Scotty?
I've got Rami first. I got Hardy second.
Okay.
Same as me, yeah.
Yeah, I think Curry third. I think. See,
Bonac, Walker, Derek.
So I've seen Nick. I don't reckon Nick looks that good. I don't even have him above Ian. I think Ian is going to sneak into the top 5 or 6 this year. I think it could be. I think for 4th place, it could either be Bonac. It could be. I think Derek. I think he looks incredible. Trying to think who else would I.
All the top previous winners, I looked at all their lists yesterday. They all had Andrew Jack in the top 5. All of them.
I don't know why. I don't rate him.
Nah.
They all had him in the top 5, even Ronnie.
I don't think there's going to be any of the new guys that are going to crack the top 5 or top 6.
What about, do we think Samson could break the top 5?
So I'll say Nick 4 and I'll say Ian 5. Done.
All right, there you go.
So Samson's amazing. Like, aesthetically, I reckon he's probably the best. But he's just not going to be diced. He's just not going to get that diced. Yeah, He's not. So that's the way I think it's going to roll, man. But it's going to be interesting. I don't know. What are you boys doing for it? Where are you going to watch it?
Oh, Trimboli's house.
Are you coming over?
Well, we've got to at least watch the Open.
All right, sweet. Let's I'll buy.
What time is the Open on our time?
Ooh, I don't know. I have to check.
That's all I have to check. We'll suss it out.
As in pre-judging, or are you going to watch the finals?
Both. Yeah, both.
So yeah, you'll have a pretty good idea. Everyone that we just said, that's your top 7. Like, I don't think it's hard to judge who's going to be in the top 7. It's just, other than for me, I think 1st and 2nd. No. I've been watching Hardy on Bumstead's YouTube when he was training down there with
crazy.
Bonnie. And man, he looks pretty fucking good. Even Chris was like, he looks fucking crazy.
Yeah, so you got to think, right? Hardy Rambod, the coach, he's coaching Chris Bumstead, Hardy Shupan,
And
Derek Lunsford. It's fucking ridiculous. And then you've got Chad Nichols, which has got Big Ramy and William Bonac.
I thought Rami was with Big Dennis James.
So Dennis is helping him with his training and his posing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Dennis does his sessions.
Yeah.
Chad does his plans.
Yeah. You know what I find real interesting about, and let's talk about this. This is a good segue. Is a lot of these top guys, their coaches don't, not all of them, but they don't really do their training. They do
a lot of them do their own training.
Yeah, a lot of the pros do their own training. Like, I know Hardy has his FST7 protocols and stuff like that. And Hardy likes people to train in a certain way. But I don't think that's like they've got like we have like an app with the program on it and stuff. You know what I mean? And I think they do their own training. And what I find too is a lot of them train together. They do like a lot of freestyle, like, you know, Nick will train with Derek and so on and so forth. So they kind of jump on in each other's sessions. Now, I'm sure like they're at a position where they're at the top of the top. So the muscles they've built 80 to 90% of their mass.
Yeah, and they're training to failure, 16 to 20 sets per session. But the PEDs are obviously giving them the recoverability that, we don't have, right? So
yeah. So not my concern, but my worry is, and this typically does happen for people that aren't really educated or have a coach, is they look at those athletes and they go, "Sweet, that's how I got to train."
Yeah, which is not right. Yeah,
it's just like
you know who is like writes everything down, progressively overloads every session. Hunter Labrada.
Yeah, he does. Yeah,
writes it every session. He's got his book. He makes sure he adds a rep or a plate or always quarter plate, whatever it is, and he's always keeping track. So some of them do it, but most of them don't.
One thing I have found is that maybe over the recent years is the pros have really started to worry about their form and their mind-muscle connection. And maybe it's because a lot of them are being filmed now.
Because they're on YouTube.
They've got YouTube and they've got Instagram and they're filming everything. I think it's been like a really big point of concentration for a lot of them now is to make sure that their form is nailed and that they're training properly. Whereas, like, if you think like back in the day with a Ronnie or even a Jay Cutler, they would love to do the swing and the momentum and the cheat reps. They would love that stuff. And but that's what I found is like I don't think there's a pro out there that kind of trains like a Ronnie, where they're slanging weights, just slanging them around, no form, no regard. Just Ronnie's a freak, of course, but which I think is a good thing. I think is a good thing because it's really making sure that people that do look up to them are doing things properly that potentially they won't injure themselves.
Yeah, I think that kind of exited when Branch Warren sort of finished. I think it must be a Texas thing, man, where it's just like, let's train in like 50-degree heat and just fucking destroy our joints by any means possible.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
So come over, bro. We'll watch it together. I've got my whole weekend free because I knew what I wanted to do. I just wanted to watch it all and make sure I watched every division. So, let's sort it out. And Scotty, if you're free.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say, what time, because it depends. I normally have little ones with me.
No. MT's house is kid-friendly, man. It's awesome.
Is it?
Set up gates everywhere. It's just, you'll love it, man.
They can fall down the stairs, whatever.
Yeah.
Oh, we got stairs on all levels of my joint. My kids are pretty good at that. I'll have a look and see what time the divisions are because I definitely am going to watch it. So that'd be sick.
We'll try and tape at least one of the sessions.
Work it out. Do you want to touch on bikini real quick? I know, Scotty, you're all across this, right?
Yeah. Just let me get my phone out, bro. No, I can take a classic, but not bikini.
MG, do you want me to give you mine?
Girl that you've been speaking about on your IG.
Yeah, do you want me to go, or do you say you're going to go?
I can go. So I think Jen Dory's going to go back to back.
Yeah.
I think Laura Lee Chapatis is going to come up there in second.
Yeah.
And then Janet, she's the comeback queen because what's really interesting is in 2020, Janet beat Jen. 2021, Jen won, but Janet wasn't there. So technically, Janet has never lost, and Jen hasn't lost and is now trying to defend her title.
Yeah.
So Janet's going to be defending her 2020 title. Jen's going to be defending her 21 title. So it's going to be interesting, right? But I still think that Jen's going to win, and Janet's going to come third. Then I got Issa, and she's a past winner also. Then I got Ashley Kay, and she's a past winner also. And then I got Maureen.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Mine's different. Man,
Yeah?
so, I reckon Laura Lee's going to win.
Oh, really?
Yeah, she's had a massive year. She's won everything. She's talking to town. She's very relevant and current. I reckon she's going to win. I reckon Jen's going to come second. I reckon Maureen's going to come third. And I reckon Janet's going to come fourth. And then I reckon our girl, Alex is... No, we're going to put Alex in the top 5, man.
Alex, I'm hoping Alex gets top 10. That'd be amazing.
We're going to go top 5. She's going to come fifth. There you go.
Oh, good.
But I like Maureen too, man.
Yeah, Maureen's awesome. Yeah.
So, anyway, we're pretty similar, but just a little bit of a different...
See, Laura Lee and Jen, that's why I put Jen first, Laura Lee second. The problem I have with Jen is that she hasn't been on stage since last Olympia.
Yeah, so whereas Laura Lee's won everything.
There's no practice of peaking. There's no nothing. She's been training her absolute ass off. She's been eating plenty of food. She was already on the top end of the size perspective. So we'll see whether she's going to be too big or not. And yeah, Laura Lee has just been winning everything. So she's got heaps of momentum coming in. So I'm excited. That's why I put them first, second, and then Janet third, because Janet's a past champion and she hasn't been beaten technically, right? So
what about, do you want to touch on anything else? Want to touch on, I mean, Classic Physique should be, shut the gates, should be, I reckon, same as last year, Cbum, Terrence, but I think Urs will take over from Ramon.
I think Urs will be second.
Oh, yeah, he'll beat Terrence.
Yeah.
I reckon he's going to beat Terrence, man. Again, I've been watching him. He's had grainy glutes for like 3 weeks. He's eating up. I reckon Cbum, it's a done deal. This will be his best look ever. I reckon I wouldn't be surprised if this is Chris's second last year. He'll run one more, take 5, and then he's going to start making babies.
Yeah, I reckon Cbum's only got this and next year in him. That's probably about it.
And I reckon it's Urs. He's going to take over. Aesthetically, he's got the look.
Yeah.
In another 2 years, size-wise.
It reminds me of a young Scott Morrell.
He knows how to get super appeal. Do you know I was reading up on him? You know when he started bodybuilding when he was 2016?
Yeah, I know, man.
I know. Crazy.
Took the floor first season, and then after 2 years, crossed over, got his pro card straight away, and he's just one of those guys, because he's super young, in 3 or 4 years, man, I think he'll be the next Mr. Rowe. And
have you seen that video of him doing the shuffling online in his Olympia?
and I feel like, I mean, Chris is such a humble, just really good guy. And Urs is the same. He's such a beautiful guy. Like, he's one of those athletes you just look at. He's a nice guy. He's not arrogant. He's a good dude.
So we're going Cbum, Urs, Terrence, then Ramondino?
Yeah. And then I don't know if you guys... Say that again?
Keon fifth?
Yeah, Keon looks crazy, man.
Yeah.
Keon looks crazy. Keon could be 4th or 3rd even. Anyway, it's going to be stacked.
It's going to be awesome.
Do you guys follow Missy Truscott?
Yeah.
She's amazing, man.
Yeah, she's crazy.
I should go back to back, but check her out, Scotty. She's amazing. She's fitness. But obviously with Olympia Fitness, it's like you do the routine too, right? So it's like gymnastics and physique. Check her out. Missy Truscott, freak. The best.
And then do you guys have Brandon Hendrickson taking out physique again?
Yeah, I did. But I haven't really looked into it too much, to be honest. But I think he's going to go back to back. Yeah. MG? Anything?
Oh, man, I've been spending all my time in bikini, man.
I'm going to have to do some research so that I can customize myself to all this sort of stuff.
Yeah, I love bikini, man.
One thing they're really concentrating on in bikini at the moment is shoulders, is delts. And obviously Glute-Ham Tie-in, but no hammy separation. They don't want to see any detail in the hammy at all.
Yeah, it's hard because they want to really see that glute hit into the hamstring, which requires a certain level of condition. But if you go too far, they seem to be punishing people. It's just such a fine line.
It's a fine line. So when you think about it that way, right, you have to have so much muscular develop in that area
For sure.
for it to show, so
Yeah.
you don't have to get diced, right? For it to come out and pop. Because if you don't have the development there in that area, so you need to get lean to show it, your hammies are going to get too lean. So that's why off season is important. That's why off season eating is super important, and doing the correct exercise to target that area. So
But can't I just do 45 sets on glutes
you got to do
in one session, supersetted with
of everything.
Okay.
Supersetted.
Done.
And everything's got to be landmine on your shoulder. The PT has to follow you around to set all the equipment up for you.
Oh, awesome. Can the PT sit on my shoulder as well?
Yeah.
That's how Scott spots me. Sits on my back.
Yeah. But your dogs are also on your lap at the same time.
Yeah, I fucking love it.
Hey, actually, we got a question about Cbum. I'll read it out. In Cbum's latest day of eating video, he mentions how he's been tracking daily sodium intake during the Olympia prep, and in previous years, he hadn't been sure about how much he was having, which caused some issues. So is it important for a competitor to track their daily intake?
Is this just literally what happened to you on your A and B peak? Literally identical.
Yeah, it's pretty much what happened to me.
And we did address it, yeah.
Yeah, and we did address it. But
we did. And it makes a big fucking difference. Like, I mean, as a natural MT, like, you saw the difference in the space of, like, a week, 2 weeks. Like, your show day for the trial peak that you did the week before the ICN. Never forget when MG came up the stairs and he was just...
Mind-blown.
Yeah,
it was mind-blown. I was shocked. He looked like he put on 4 to 5 kilos.
Yeah,
his legs were hard. His legs were so hard, so detailed, more separated. It was crazy.
And so, it can't measure it, then you can't manipulate it. When I saw that video, and I was baffled, but at the same time, I'm not surprised because Ian, and I said this to one of my clients this morning, Chris is one of those guys where he could just prep himself and he'd still probably be good enough to win with a little bit of knowledge. Like, he's got a crazy physique. He just needs to get reasonably conditioned. But I think the biggest thing that people have probably taken away this year is the way and I always refer to prep as landing a plane. The way he's landing this year is so much smoother, less turbulence, more food. If his food's higher, his training's better, which means if his training's better, he's going to retain more tissue. But you should be across all of that, knowing how much you're consuming, not just in prep, but also in your off season too. Because obviously, if you're eating more and you're drinking more, your requirements for sodium go up. It plays such an important role. We've spoken about obviously the importance of electrolyte balance, but your body depends on it. And especially if you then throw in those guys, obviously utilizing PEDs, and most of the times they'll use some sort of a diuretic the day before, and then using other compounds. You want to make sure that all of your other nuts and bolts are definitely in line. So, yeah, I reckon his peak will be so much better this year for that very reason.
Keen. All right, we had a training question about warm-up sets. So, how many should you do leading up to your heavy working sets? They gave an example about leg press, but I won't go into it. And do you include these warm-up sets in your programmed sets?
Yeah, I don't. And one of the things is, I suppose it depends on a few things, like, is it freezing? And if it's freezing, then potentially, a couple of extra sets just to warm the connective tissue up is important. But let's just say, as a general rule of thumb, using a leg press example, and let's say that I'm going to warm up to a weight, let's just say 200, right, as an example. I think what a lot of people do is they do warm-up sets with a ton of reps. I don't do a ton of reps in my warm-up sets. I might work between sometimes 2 and 6, depends on the exercise. So I might jump on, for me, I might do like 6 at 100, 4 at 150, and then I'll start my working set at 200 as like my 3rd to 4th effort. And I'm not counting those efforts before because the intensity is nowhere near high enough. I'm just trying to get some blood through the legs, get the connective tissue warm. And that's the objective of that. So as a general rule, a couple of sets, but I've done 4 to 5 in colder weather during prep. When I was prepping in my gym, it was obviously really cold that morning. And again, I'm not counting those as sets.
So they're literally to warm up and warm up the joints and get your movement pattern going in and your brain understanding what you should be doing and how you should be moving and connecting everything together, they should be low effort. They shouldn't be fatiguing, and they wouldn't account for your working sets or your program sets in your program. They're literally
not part of your accumulated volume.
Yeah, they don't. Yeah, they're not part of your accumulated.
How many times do you guys hear, like Scotty? How many times, because you do a lot of face to face? Oh, my second set's always way better. Of course it is. Of course it is. You're accustomed to it now. You're a warmer, and things are moving. Like I know, like when I train with Scott, as in when Scott's putting me through a session, he always I'm gonna take my jumper off. He's like, don't fucking take your jumper off, man. I'm like, but I'm fucking hot. He's like, don't fucking take your jumper off. It's like, leave that shit on, man. The warmer, the better. Like,
you can also, I will say with that, you should be using your warm-up sets as a gauge. For example, let's use a hip hinge movement, like say a deadlift or an RDL. You might plan on, let's say if I'm going to do a set of RDLs on, say it was 4 plates, 180. And then as I'm working my way up, I'll literally start with the bar and then I'll do a set on 60. And typically the lighter the weight, more reps, because I'm not just, I use the term greasing the groove, but I'm not just trying to get blood in there. I'm also, there's an element of skill acquisition, making sure everything's tight. And I might say I get to 140 and then by that stage you might be doing, maybe 3 or 4 reps. Might do that and be like, it didn't feel amazing, but I'm just going to go up anyway. That doesn't make any sense to me. So if that was me, it's just one of those mornings. It could be colder. And then it was meant to be a last warm-up set, but it didn't move how you wanted it to move. Adding more load and then trying to take more reps just doesn't make any sense to me. So if that was me, take a breather, run it again, rinse it. If it feels good, then it's good to go. If it doesn't feel good again, then perhaps that's sometimes where you need to auto-regulate and be like, well, maybe it's just one of those mornings. It could be one of those things. You might have had less sleep where, moving 180 today isn't going to be an option for me. It might have to be 165 or 170, and you need to be smart and listen to your body. That's very rare, but as a golden rule, I'll always say if it didn't feel 10 out of 10, 11 out of 10, then you shouldn't be loading it up trying to expect more of your body when you couldn't elicit that same result from a lesser load.
Yeah, definitely. Awesome. Yeah, especially with movements like RDLs or ones that require
more skill acquisition.
Yeah, they're a bit technical. And also, they're probably more injury prone than others. Like, how many people mess up their back on a RDL or a deadlift?
Yeah. But then I would say, does anyone do any lat priming stuff before they'll go and do? Because a lot of people, like one of the cues that I'll always use before anyone's going to take it, lock your lats. Because if you break down from the top half, then straight away you're not going to deposit any stress to your hamstrings. But you might do 1 or 2 lat priming exercises. I know I do, and I make my athletes do that before they're going to do their big compounds like that, because when it comes to locking those down and staying tight through that upper portion of their back, it just becomes autonomous because, again, they've primed that muscle to be able to do what you're wanting it to do.
Yeah. And that's sometimes the reason why in a program someone might see an isolation move first before their compound, is for that activation and also even to warm it up. But yeah, you might see it. So like a straight arm pull down before you do a lat pull down.
Yeah, you'll always see that in my program. Again, it's not there. And I wouldn't normally account for that within my specific volume, because typically the reps will be like close to 20 because you're trying to push blood in there, connect with it neurally. So then when I go and do a pull down, there's already heaps of blood. I've got that awareness and I'm ready to go. Yeah.
Yeah, like a leg extension before a squat, that kind of stuff. Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah.
Okay, just quickly, we touched on a little bit of bikini, but we did get 2 questions. I'm linking them together. They were all around of what kind of frame of body, female body, would be genetically have a genetic advantage for bikini over another frame. So, like genetically, what kind of physique would you want to see genetically that would be more advantageous for a bikini look? And if we can describe that a little bit more. There's 2 questions about that. So I can kick it off if you want. But
yeah, we'll just
if
try
you've got someone that comes out of the womb and they have nice broad shoulders, a tiny little waist, and develop glutes and quads, they're pretty much primed, right?
It's Matty Orchard, isn't that Matty Orchard?
Yeah, pretty much primed for bikini. So if you've got those broad shoulders, you've got the small little waist, and you got a fair bit of development in your lower half, in your glutes and in your quads, you're good to go. And obviously, if we can even talk about fat distribution too, right? Like ideally, like we're talking about the Glute-Ham tie-ins, ideally we wouldn't want to have a lot of fat in that area genetically, right? So that'd be an area we'd probably want a little bit more even over the whole body, because you wouldn't want it to be sitting all in the midsection, and you wouldn't want it to be sitting all in the lower half. If you had to pick, you'd probably say pick the upper half, because maybe the upper back, because your hair's covering it, especially in IFBB. As long as your shoulders are popping out, it doesn't really matter. But yeah, ideally you don't want to have any big fat distributed in one area over another. You want it pretty evenly spread. Yeah. What do you think, MG?
Yeah, definitely. I think in a lot of cases, the ability to maintain a pretty slim waistline through off season is like a reasonable sign of someone who may fit the division well. But I think the biggest thing, man, is just for a lot of females to just deposit quality tissue on the delts. Is a really important part for that division. And I'm not just talking about IFBB, where obviously you don't see the back, because in a lot of our divisions for females, we do have a really good back pose.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of female bikini athletes that stand out in natural bodybuilding Australia who have good backs, and that's one of the distinguishing factors. So I would say for us to be a little more relevant to what we do here, having a good back is super important. But I would 100% agree with MT that it's delts, glutes, tiny waist. Because at the end of the day, like I'll give you A and B as an example, our judging criteria specifies multiple times the word X-frame, multiple times, which is glutes to shoulders, right?
Yep.
And the X where it meets in the middle is the waist. So if anyone doesn't understand an X-frame, that's what it is right there. We specifically say we're looking for an X-frame in bikini. So that's wider shoulders, and then obviously the difference being the level of conditioning, but wider shoulders, tiny waist, big glutes.
Yeah. Actually, on shoulder training. So I know when we had our meetup on the weekend, I was training side delts. You and I, Scotty, we use that side delt machine, that standing side delt machine, which is absolutely awesome. And some of my clients were there, they were training on it, and they were like, how do I position my arms? Forward, back, left, right. I find, and you guys tell me, side raises, nearly everyone is different. Like, for me to feel it in my side delts, the movement, my arms need to be a little bit more in front of my body when I lift out to the side, right? And I actually find that an upright row hits my side delts better than a side raise. That's how I feel, right? If I go like a nice wide on an upright row, I feel it in my side delts better. We have people that are completely opposite, don't like upright rows, impinges their shoulders, they feel it all in their traps. When they do a side raise, they need to be like right by their side. So obviously the side delts are a big factor in that X-frame, right? So we need to make sure that when we are training side raises, upright rows, you just don't willy-nilly go, I'm executing a side raise, I'm just throwing my hands up in the air. Like, I tell people, like, really concentrate and find the position that you feel it the best. And that's what we kind of did. I think maybe you had walked away, Scotty, but I had 3 clients and I was like, jump on the machine and try. Go a little bit forward, go a little bit to the side, a little bit to the back, do it this way, do it that way. And all 3 of them were different. One of them liked their hands out in front more. One of them needed it by them sides. One of it needed it kind of in the middle and needed to go above shoulder height when they did a lat raise. Some people, if they went too high, they felt in their traps. Do you find that, Scotty, with some people that you train with the side delts?
Yeah, I do. I think as well, you need to look at the way that you're training in the sense of how are you loading it. So, for example, let's say that it's a dumbbell lateral raise. You get tension at the top of the movement, but you don't have any tension on the bottom. Whereas if you're using the machine like we used, or if you were to use, say, cables, you've got tension at the bottom and you've got tension at the top. So you're able to stay under load for longer, and obviously you're able to inject more blood into the muscle a lot better. But for a lot of people, I think the reason that they tend to perhaps not feel it in their medial delt like they should, it's because of either perhaps they're going too heavy or they lose tension on the bottom. So if they're doing a lateral raise, they go up and then they'll let it touch their legs and they completely relax, and then all of a sudden the delt's off. And then when they go to go up, because it's not a large muscle belly, and at, say, rep 10 or 12, where you would perhaps want to really start to try and rinse out 2 or 3 more reps, if it's too weight at the bottom, it's not going to come back up. So you kind of need to keep tension on it or go lighter so that you can. And that's where using a cable could be advantageous, because if you've got tension from the bottom as you're coming up, you can go nice and high, controlling it nice and slow when you come down. But whenever I have anyone that struggles to be able to execute that movement, I'll typically get them to either do some shadow raises, like 40 or 50 repetitions, literally not going all the way down, but working from about half range to overextending. And then by doing that slow and controlled, having the shoulder in the flex position and then controlling it going up and down, over time, like neurally, you really start to get a really bad and, you know, aggressive pump through that region. And then if you go and get a set of dumbbells, you won't need 10s or 15s. You can use a lighter weight, and straight away it's like, wow, I can feel my delts instantaneously. But I think in terms of the hand position, that's obviously going to be bespoke to the individual. And typically, if you're going too far, like completely to your side, you're always going to have an element of trap. Whereas like UMT, I think having your arm a little bit more in front, and again, initiating the movement, always use the Q, elbow, little finger. And if you do that and then lift with the elbows, then you're still going to have a little bit of engagement through your trap, but you won't notice it anywhere near as much. But if you try using that potentiation protocol, doesn't have to be a shadow raise. I do it with 2.5 kilo weight plates. If you had a female, just use literally your arms and working from there, coming back up, squeezing and holding. After about 30 reps, even just having your shoulder in the flex position, your delts will be on fire. And then wait a minute or two, go and start your working sets, and it will be a game changer.
Yeah. What about you, MG? Is there one that do you feel indifferent depending on what you do, how you do it differently? Do you like machine dumbbells?
Yeah, I pretty much do most of my work. Well, I either use a lying cable crossover. So I put cuffs on my wrists, crossover, lying on an incline bench, and then I actually do all my raises with cuffs on. My other variant is I use the seated machine, right? So it's a pin-loaded machine where I don't actually hold on to anything. There is handles on the pad, but I just put my arms with a little bend in the elbow, rotate my thumbs down towards the floor, and sit in the chair and lateral raise, so I can really lead with the shoulder and then let the elbow and hand catch up. But I think like the only thing to add is like if you don't have access to that type of stuff and you can't find a machine that works for you, I think so many people miss so much opportunity for growth and damage eccentrically on dumbbell raises. Like Scotty touched on it. They're up and they're just flying back down. Like if you can control that downward phase, and I'll put it to you like this, think about adding 1.5 to 2 seconds per eccentric rep across 15 reps, 3 sets. You know, that's 90 seconds of tension potentially per week or even twice a week. You extrapolate that over a year, man, the amount of tension that you can put on that medial head is huge. So I'll just say just slow down, control it, and try and add a little bit of time to your eccentric phases and see if that doesn't help you stimulate a little bit more growth.
Yeah, that's a really good point. I think side raises and even upright rows, I think control and slowing the movement down and even pausing and contracting at the top makes the biggest difference.
Yeah.
It's definitely not an ego lift at all. And you can't treat it like
I think it's on every movement. You think about it, say on a Smith press, someone's just dumping it, driving it up. You have to remember, and this is where you've got to leave your ego at the door, go lighter, get quality. And you'll notice such a big difference because you have to think about it like mechanistically. Let's say that it's a press. When you're lowering the bar to your chest, if you're dropping it really quickly, yep, you can create some eccentric energy that helps you concentrically contract at the top. But are you really depositing stress and mechanical tension on the way down? Not really. And that's one of the prerequisites that we need in order to elicit, obviously, muscular hypertrophy. So go leave the ego at the door, go lighter, control your movements, like utilize tempo training. Like isotonics on anything. You could leg extension's a perfect example. Like MG, you would know more than anyone.
Man, honestly, I'm in so much pain today from those.
Worth 8 seconds. So let's say it's a 4-second negative on the way down, and then it's a 3-second concentric on the way up with a 1-second isometric hold at the top. That's 8 seconds for one rep. You're doing 12 or 15 of those. Your quads are under so much tension. There's so much blood. You get so much cellular swelling. And again, you can yield a really good training adaptation without having to throw so much load through your joints. Because at the end of the day, we want to be able to get as much as we can out of doing the most minimal amount. Because otherwise, if you're so dependent on doing a ton of this and doing so much load for that, that's why a lot of those massive bodybuilder guys have to go so heavy, because their ceiling for what they can yield an adaptation from just gets higher and higher because the muscle just gets bigger and bigger. So, you know, make the most of what you can by doing the very bare minimum. And if you can elicit a result on that, then you're winning. But if you constantly think that you've got to go up and up and up, and then the recoil of that is that quality control goes down, you know, muscle tension when you're actually trying to perform movement goes down, then yeah, you might look cool and you're lifting more weight, but you're not really going to be gaining any new tissue. We're not powerlifters, we're bodybuilders.
Yeah. Yeah, love it. Train the muscle, not the movement. Yeah.
Yep, that's it.
All right, fellas. We might leave it there for today, but I'm looking forward to the Olympia. I'm going to write down your predictions actually, because I want to see how close you are.
We'll put it in the group chat.
Done.
Yes.
And then we'll chat about catching up for the Olympia and actually watching it, and then we'll go from.
And then I reckon we'll get everyone to send us a message. Where do you want the next meetup? Which gym?
Yeah, which gym to be at next year would be awesome.
Gym do you want to meet up? Yeah,
there's a couple on my list for sure that we'll go to for. So.
And then Scotty, are you coming for Suvos on Friday? That's the question.
Bro, I want a Suvo so bad.
Are you going to come Friday night?
I've actually got a dinner on Friday night I can't go to. Is there anything on I'm trying to think. Jen's
no, just can your dinner, man. Don't worry about it.
Or I could maybe just go and have a couple of Coke Zeros and then I'll come and meet for a Suv after.
Yeah, now you're talking.
We're
actually going to
every Friday.
Friday?
Yeah.
We've got to sort you out, bro. We've got to sort you out.
What time?
No, about
8:30?
7:38, yeah.
Yeah, my dinner's at 7. Maybe I'll just go and I'll have an entree and then I'll meet you guys.
We'll just come bring you a Suvo.
Oh, you're going to be sleeping on the couch, man.
I hope it's good because there's a lot of high. Even all the guys at the meet they're like, bro, how have you not had a Suv?
Yeah, I knew it.
I'm pretty excited.
All right, boys. You enjoy the rest of your day.
You too, legends. Take care, boys. All the best.
See you, boys.
Yeah.
Bye.